Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. See ebaymotors.com.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Last year, they went and took it.
He struck him out looking.
This year,
the Texas Rangers win the World Series.
They're here to run it back.
It's over.
This is Believe in Texas Rangers, hosted by Mitch Ferreldis.
The offense has returned to Globe Life Field. Welcome into the latest edition of Believe in Texas Rangers. Make sure that if you like what you're hearing, you like, you subscribe, you rate 5 stars if you're listening on audio platform. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe, comment, tell me what you would like to hear on the next edition of Believe in Texas Rangers. But this is kind of an abnormal episode, and the reason that I'm doing a recording in the middle of a series as opposed to at the end of the series, recording this Wednesday night after the Rangers 5-1 win over the Mariners. Thursday is just going to be a crazy day for me with my full-time job. And then I've got family coming into town this weekend. So figured I would get the midweek pod out of the way today following the Rangers win. There's plenty of updates to hit on, so there's plenty of stuff to talk about today. So I will not be recapping the series finale with the Rangers and Mariners, even though it's an important one, given the series is tied 1-1. But I will be back after the Cincinnati Reds visit to Globe Life Park with a Sunday night reaction pod after everything is all said and done. So that's the reason why you're getting a pod now, as opposed to after the Mariners series. But as I said, there's still plenty to talk about. We're of course going to start with the result of tonight's game, and that was a 5-1 finish in favor of the Rangers. 2 important things happened tonight. Number one, the pitching after John Gray was very, very good, and it came from a couple of unlikely candidates. More on that in just a second. Second most important thing, and maybe it was actually the most important thing if I'm ordering the list correctly, the offense has returned to Globe Life Park. So after a pair of home runs by who else? Adolis Garcia, and then by Evan Carter. And shout out to Evan Grant with Dallas Morning News for providing this statistic. The 2 home runs, well, technically the first home run, I should say, snapped a 25-inning home scoreless streak for the Rangers, going all the way back to their last game against the Oakland Athletics. Now, granted, they haven't had a home game between the final A's game and then up until this weekend when the Mariners came into town. But still, that's a long time between runs. 25 innings at home in between runs scored. That's a really long time. That's a lot of pressure, not only just on the team, but that's a long time for a fan base to have to wait. That is nearly 3 complete games of baseball without seeing a run score in your own ballpark. So I'm glad that the Rangers were able to get past that tonight. That was super duper important. And then as far as what I was saying in regards to the pitching, we got to see the season debut of Jonathan Hernandez tonight. He had started the year on the injured list, and he was the first man out of the bullpen behind John Gray tonight. He threw an inning and a third. He got 1 strikeout, and he was very efficient too. He threw 22 pitches for 14 for strikes. David Robertson continues to be one of the steals of the offseason as far as the money that he was getting and the role that he's serving for Texas. He threw 2 innings, collected his 8th hold of the year because at the time it was a safe situation. 2 innings, 4 strikeouts on just 23 pitches, 17 of them for strikes. he continues to be just a fantastic addition to this Rangers bullpen. Kirby Yates as well. Kirby didn't pitch tonight, though. But David Robertson has been an absolute, what's the word I'm looking for? An absolute needle in a haystack. You dig around everything that's around him and you find him. He's absolutely that. He has been almost everything and more that the Rangers could have asked for as a late inning setup man, especially with how quickly they've had to alter their late innings approach to start the year. And then Grant Anderson, he just recently got recalled from AAA Round Rock. Rangers had to put Austin Pruitt on the 15-day injured list. Like the injuries just keep coming, man. It's piling up. He threw an inning. He allowed a hit. Struck out a couple on 18 pitches to close things out. Got a little shaky, but he was still able to manage get out of it. And the Mariners go silently into the night, scoring only the 1 run. They had 8 hits. So don't get me wrong. They were able to get on base enough times. They walked twice. But it was really important to be able to hold the Mariners down after they beat you yesterday in a shutout performance. And the Rangers pitching did exactly that. John Gray, 4 2/3, 7 hits, a run, 7 strikeouts on 92 pitches. 62 of them strikes. So if we want to give John the benefit of the doubt, here's what we liked about John today. Obviously, the 1 run allowed. The 7 strikeouts is really, really good. The higher percentage of strikeouts or strikes to balls, was also really, really good and important to see. He got 10 swing and miss strikes, 13 called strikes. Here's what really ate John up today. Not so much the walks. He only had 2 walks, I believe it was. He had 25 foul balls as part of his strike count. Meaning he wasn't, even though he was generating swing and miss, not just with the 10, but also with the 7 strikeouts that he had, the batters were still making plenty of contact to force John into the high pitch count that he went into tonight, and as a result was unable to finish the 5th inning and unable to qualify for the win. Last time we talked, I mentioned the idea of John Gray out of the bullpen just to further solidify that group, to help a group that is ailing, and maybe that's something that is considered when Cody Bradford is healthy. Max Scherzer had his first rehab assignment tonight. We'll touch on that later. And I'm not going to say that this is another example of maybe that he's just better off in the pen. But I do wonder if a reduced amount, or a reduced workload, I should say, shorter appearances out of the bullpen, if he starts to really fine-tune himself and become one of the better relievers on this team. He's looking better. This was a night where you start to wonder, okay, the pitch count was really, really high. You know what it was? It was very similar to what we get out of most starts from Andrew Heaney. He gets the strikeouts, but sometimes there's a lot of walks. Sometimes there's a lot of foul balls. And as a result, the pitch count is incredibly high, and he can barely get to the 5th inning. Or he can barely get through the 5th inning even. I don't want this team to make any rash decisions right now. The Leclerc rash decision, I completely understand. He was asked to fill that spot, high leverage situation, and he failed enough times that it warranted a change. At the same time, you also had the necessary pieces to be able to make the change and move Leclerc out of the closer role. The Rangers don't have the benefit of just moving John Gray out of the rotation right now. Not that it would be a benefit for John Gray either. I think time will pass. A decision will have to be made, as we echoed on the last podcast, as to who are going to be the 5 guys in this rotation. And if you whittle it down, respectfully, I don't think John Gray is going to be one of them. And it starts like this that kind of emphasize why maybe a smaller sample size or smaller or short-term outings would actually benefit not only the Rangers, but John Gray as well. Offense tonight, outside of the Garcia homer and the Evan Carter homer, let's just jump to this now.
Wyatt Watch.
So there's multiple angles I want to hit on as far as Wyatt Watch is concerned, but we're going to start with it now because he had easily his best night of the Major League season at the plate. He went 3 for 3, scored a run, walked once. He collected a double, so he got another extra base hit, his 3rd double of the year. The other 2 were singles. So he had 4 plate appearances and reached base 4 times, scored once. Now, it's a bummer because at the time that he hit the double, he was hard rounding third. He just missed a home run again. He hit it all the way to the wall and it went off the wall, and he just missed a home run again. We are begging and pleading for that ball to just make it out by now. Anyway, he hits the ball, goes off the wall, dribbles around, and Wyatt's fast. We've learned that Wyatt is fast enough to round the bases at high speed. And he just stumbles around second, lands flat. The ball is able to get in time, and they're able to tag him out at second base. And at the time that happened, it was at a point where you were already frustrated about how the Rangers' offense is performing. They haven't scored any runs. They're struggling to string hits together. They can't keep guys on base. The pitching seems to be doing so great, and yet they're finding ways to see runs cross the plate for the opposing team. At the moment in time that happened, it was just another, what felt like a massive blow to the offense. But now that we can look at it in hindsight, it's actually a fantastic performance for Wyatt and a much necessary bounce back performance. He gets his batting average back up to 261 on the year. He still has the 9 RBIs, and the OPS sits at 658. And it makes up for the fact that he went 0 for 2 yesterday. He did have another walk, but he also struck out twice. It was a very rough outing for Wyatt yesterday. So to see him have a 3-hit performance where one of those hits went for extra bases and could have easily tabbed him an extra base, it was really good to see that he bounced back the way he did. So shout out Wyatt as far as that's concerned.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. See ebaymotors.com.
I do think it's time to reference the biggest gripe that a lot of us should be having when it comes to Wyatt Langford right now. And if I'm not mistaken, it happened again tonight. So earlier in the week, shout out again to Evan Grant, who was able to pull up the information as far as this is concerned. As I'm trying to find yep, there it is. Okay, perfect. So if you see here, I've now added this picture, which is a pitch breakdown of Wyatt Langford. The thing about all of these pitches over here that are just outside the zone, if you're not watching on YouTube right now, check it out later on the Believe in Texas Rangers or Mitch Ferrell's YouTube channel. All of these pitches that I'm circling right now with my mouse were all called strikes. If I'm trying to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then there's 2 more over here, 16, 17. 17 pitches out of the zone called for strikes against Wyatt Langford. And we talked about it on the Sunday pod and how Bryce Paterick, even with Locked On Rangers, I should say, Bryce Paterick, pointed out that if we're wondering why Wyatt Langford hasn't exploded onto the scene yet, well, it's because he's been called 17 times out of the zone. That's just crazy to me. And hopefully the visual does justice as to just how badly this is and how poorly he's being treated as far as his attempt to actually produce at the major league level. Like, some people are saying he's getting the rookie treatment. I cannot believe that this many pitches, I'm not going to show the image again, but I cannot believe that many pitches have been called for strikes when they were well outside of the zone. It's crazy. All right, enough ranting about Wyatt. There's one other thing that we have to touch on as far as tonight's game was concerned. and that is Corey Seager, who got hit by a pitch. I believe it was in the 7th inning. He got hit by a pitch directly on his left shin when he was in the batter's box. Didn't look good. He made his way to first base, but then eventually he was pulled for Davis Wenzel, defensive substitution. After the game, manager Bruce Bochy said that his shin swelled up pretty good on the left shin, swelled up really fast too. So we'll check on him in the morning and see where we're at. Heaven forbid that this Rangers team has to deal with another long-term injury this early in the year, given that they just had to place Austin Pruitt on injured list. Yes, at the same time, they're soon to get Josh Spores back. I think he's on a rehab assignment soon to Round Rock. You had Max Scherzer had his rehab assignment tonight. We'll touch on that right after we're done wrapping with this game. But heaven forbid anything else bad happens to a main starter on the Rangers. This team cannot take any more injuries this early in the year. It's crazy. Okay, actually, I lied. Before I get to the Scherzer rehab assignment, I did think it was funny how Julio Rodriguez, the center fielder for the Mariners, did try to fool everybody, thinking that he had robbed Adolis Garcia's home run when in fact he actually hadn't. I thought that was a fun moment. Right? We love fun baseball. That's what we're here for. So, all right, enough teasing. Let's just get to Scherzer's rehab assignment. So he was with AAA Round Rock tonight. He threw 2 1/3 innings, allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, struck out 4 on 52 pitches. Now, as a reminder, Max, to my best recollection, didn't really pitch much, if at all, during the spring because he was still recovering from injury. As a matter of fact, no, he did not pitch in the spring at all. He was still recovering from his surgery. And even Jared Sandler, who works for the Rangers broadcast team, pointed this out. Equivalent of what would be his first or his second spring start. So are we going to freak out about the fact that he gave up a lot of hits and gave up a few runs? No. If you didn't know by now, the Pacific Coast League is an absolute offensive juggernaut. Not because of the players, but because of a lot of the high altitudes that they play at in some of the cities like Salt Lake, Albuquerque. I know in the past they had played in Colorado Springs. Like there's so many places across the Pacific Coast League that just provide a lot of opportunity for the balls to really bounce off the bat. So nothing to freak out about there. If anything, it is incredibly encouraging the fact that he's already on his rehab assignment, given that he's recovering from a back injury. Those things take time. It's good to see that Max is getting back into form. And maybe this wasn't perfect, but again, there's a lot invested in Max Scherzer, and he's a big part of this rotation. And you just know that he's going to provide an absolute boost to the team when he arrives. Speaking of starting pitchers, the Rangers made a minor league move the other day, a minor league signing, I should say. Johnny Cueto was signed to a minor league contract yesterday, the Monday of this week. So a couple of reasons were pointed out by John Morosi, who's with MLB Network. He says that Cueto chose the Rangers for 2 primary reasons, he's told. He wants to pitch for a contender. That's nice. The Rangers did just win the World Series. And he has a strong relationship with Bruce Bochy. Cueto, of course, had 4 seasons pitching with Bochy in San Francisco. What does this mean, though? Why would they sign Johnny Cueto if you knew that Max Scherzer was going to be back soon? If you knew that Cody Bradford was going to be back from his injured list stint soon? Something tells me that they're really, really filling out the depth of the starting rotation. Now, again, Cueto's signed to a minor league deal. His major league service time is not guaranteed for anything. He could just be in the minor leagues for the entirety of the season until he figures things out. But I would be surprised if the Rangers went out, made this signing, and didn't make him a part of the major league roster in, say, a month's time. So say maybe a month, or maybe even if we're lucky 3 weeks from now, we find Cueto on the big league roster and being a part of this rotation, maybe bumping out a few other candidates for said role. I mean, look, the starting rotation has been one of the most beat up aspects of the Rangers as far as injuries is concerned since day one. You were already going to be without Jacob deGrom. You were already going to be without Tyler Mahle. You were going to be without Max Scherzer. And then what happened? Well, you lost Cody Bradford. Nathan Eovaldi has been like the ageless wonder, and he's never mind. I'm not going to say anything about Nate. I don't want to jinx it. But the rotation has already seen like a cycle of guys going in, going out, going in, going out. Michael Lorenzen, he's here to stay, obviously. It's interesting how they're going to handle the Cueto situation, especially for a team that, has put an emphasis on having really good starting pitchers and at the same time having a good depth of starting pitchers. Cueto right now feels like a depth move, but given that the reporting is emphasizing that he's got a good relationship with Bochy and that he wants to pitch for a contender, something tells me that it won't be soon before long that Cueto finds his way onto the big league roster. And you only wonder for whom. So that happened on Monday, or on Tuesday, excuse me. I've got my days mixed up. Today's Wednesday, and I've already screwed up my calendar. The Rangers lost that Tuesday game, by the way, 4-0 to Seattle. So they were shut out at home yesterday. Dane Dunning, it was not the greatest start out of Dane. Unfortunately, only 4 1/3 innings, 4 hits allowed, 4 runs allowed. He struck out 7, but he also walked 3. And walks have been just a recurring issue for the Rangers pitching the last few games. It was much better today in their win. They only allowed 2, but they allowed 5 walks yesterday to the Mariners. Like those are the little things that make the difference in games that are technically that close. So you have to be better about that moving forward, especially because these games are deciding the division right now. And I know it's early in the year. We don't want to hype up too much about the division, but the Rangers are back to having a half game lead over the Mariners at 13-12. Mariners just behind them at 12-12. The Angels lost earlier today to the Orioles, so they dropped to 10-15. The Oakland Athletics have lost a couple games in a row. I think they're playing the Yankees, if I'm not mistaken. They're 9-16 on the year. And boy, oh boy, the Houston Astros at 7-18 to start the year. They lost again today to the Chicago Cubs. They lost their 4th straight overall as well. So it's a very tight race this early in the year. I don't know if we're going to be over harping on the division for much longer, at least this early on. Maybe we'll get into it more so as the season progresses. Well, obviously as the season progresses. But for right now, it's just kind of like a keeping eye on it sort of thing. One more injury update, and then we'll look ahead to the games that are upcoming for the rest of this week. Josh Young provided an update to the assembled media. I'm reading this courtesy of Kennedy Landry's Twitter account. She covers the team for MLB.com. Josh Young said he's headed to Arizona on Friday for a checkup on his wrist, and then the Rangers should have a clearer timeline for his return after said time. So at the end of this week, expect an injury update on Josh Young and maybe a little more clarity as far as his timeline. Remember, right now, they're working within the 8 to 10 week zone after it was initially assumed to be 6 to 8, dating all the way back to that Rays series. But then I believe in the series finale, they upped it to 8 to 10 weeks. And I think we're at the 8 weeks if it were to be the full 10 right now, if I've got my calendar right in my head. And you just hope that maybe you get lucky and maybe it won't take as long as you think. That's all you can really hope for when it comes to Young. But Josh Smith has still been doing admirably, filling in for him. You've got Nathaniel Lowe, who's filling in that void in his spot in the lineup, and it's good to have him back in the order. So for right now, maybe there's nothing to be super duper concerned about. If the Rangers are now, if they're put in a position where their record is starting to really affect them through the month of May, then maybe we could start being concerned. But I think right now there's nothing to be too overly concerned about. All right, let's look ahead to what's left for this week, and then that'll officially put a bow on things. So tomorrow will be the series finale against the Mariners. They're sending Luis Castillo to the mound, who's their ace, but he has not pitched like their ace this year. 1-4 record on the year and a 4.40 ERA. Home run ball has really bit Luis Castillo so far this season. Andrew Heaney will get the start for the Rangers. 0-2 on the year, a 6.35 ERA. Hopefully, Heen Dog can have a bounce back start. They're definitely going to need it. And then Friday through Sunday, 3 games against the Cincinnati Reds. And I tell you what, Reds are on a little bit of a heater right now. They're playing really well in their last 10. They beat the Phillies today. Ellie De La Cruz has been on an absolute tear, the stud shortstop for them. You also have to worry about Christian Encarnacion Strand. You have to worry about Spencer Steer. And they've actually got a pretty decent bounce back start to his season from Frankie Montas in their rotation, who is scheduled to not be a part of this weekend. So I guess you won't have to worry about that at all. Who you will have to worry about this weekend as far as the Reds pitchers are concerned, Graham Ashcraft, who's coming in with a 3-1 record, a 5.24 ERA. He'll go against Nate Eovaldi on Friday. On Saturday, it'll be Hunter Green, the hard-throwing young right-hander, against Michael Lorenzen, who looks to keep his winning start to the season alive. And then on Sunday, it'll be Andrew Abbott, the young left-hander, against Dane Dunning, and Dane hoping to bounce back after his outing against the Mariners just a day ago. And that's going to do it for this edition of Believe in Texas Rangers. We will be back after the Cincinnati Reds series is complete to react to how that series went and then look ahead to their next off day before they get ready to host the Washington Nationals. So until that time, believe in Texas Rangers.